What is up, everybody? It's Animac here for AnimeUproar, and today I will be breaking down the latest installment of the Boku no Hero story. And this is another one that just hits right in the feels. Deku's friends and teachers try to defend him from anti-Deku protestors. The shocking truth about the UA security system is revealed, and Deku may be about to surpass All Might, but that could be more of a curse than a blessing, so let's get into it. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more Boku no Hero content on the channel, you know what to do. Just leave a quick like and comment. It only takes a second, but it helps with the YouTube algorithm. And of course, if you're new here or you watch our videos but you just haven't taken the time to subscribe yet, do me a quick favor and make this the video that you subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. You can also hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at AnimeUproar. Finally, this video will of course contain Boku no Hero manga spoilers, so please proceed with caution, you have been warned. We start off with a flashback to before Class 1A set out to find Deku. As they are discussing the whole Deku situation with Nezu and Endeavor, Ida is convinced that if they can find Deku and bring him back to the UA, the civilians who are being sheltered there will actually feel safer because Deku is there. About that, Ida, but let's move on. At this point, Nezu and Endeavor are still not quite sure what is the best course of action. But Nezu does point out that the UA has the greatest defensive technology in all of Japan. In fact, its entire security system was recently updated, and we're not talking like some extra cameras and padlocks. No, this is something completely different. The UA is now basically a moving armored fortress. Yeah, for real. Apparently, the different parts of the UA campus have been divided into sections, and these sections can now be moved underground using a massive system of motorized elevators. This is so insane that even the characters in the story are shocked by it, and Kaminari is like, dude, that sounds like something out of a mecha anime. And I have to say that I agree with Kaminari here. Even in the more futuristic world of MHA, a security system of this caliber would cost billions and billions of dollars, and that's not even the whole story. Nezu explains that the underground sanctuary beneath the UA has been reinforced with 3,000 steel plates. And if there is any interference detected within any of these plates, the underground evacuation system will activate immediately. On top of that, the UA underground fortress is connected to Shiketsu High, which also has a crazy security system that is almost comparable to the UA. And since Shiketsu is supposed to be on the other side of the country, you can imagine how long these underground tunnels that connect the two schools must be. Tokoyami notices that these security systems, and in particular those steel plates, seem to be designed to resist Shigaraki's decay. Because these plates are not all touching each other and they are separated from each other underground, that will presumably stop Shigaraki's decay from spreading from one plate to another. When Tokoyami points out that this security system had to have been put in place before Shigaraki awakened the full power of his quirk, Nezu explains that he had anticipated that something like that might happen, and so he prepared for it ahead of time. Oh, and by the way, just as a little side note, Nezu was apparently the one who paid to have this entire completely insane security system installed. Like, what? Is Nezu supposed to be Lex Luthor or something? Endeavor then jumps in and explains that Nezu has made tremendous contributions to the education and development of quirks, and he is recognized for it worldwide. Which I guess implies that Nezu is some filthy rich tech billionaire. Presumably, Nezu came up with a bunch of quirk-related inventions that made him a ton of money, cause I don't really see any other way for him to be able to pay for such an insane security system out of pocket. I guess Nezu is basically the Elon Musk of MHA? He's like some brilliant and eccentric billionaire inventor who I guess works as a principal for fun? Man, I can totally see someone making a Nezu coin now and trying to pump it as the next big crypto. Anyway, Nezu eventually agrees that the students should go out and find Deku and bring him back to UA, and that's exactly what they ended up doing. So back in the present, that crowd of people that we saw in the previous chapter are still furious that Deku is being allowed to enter the UA grounds. These people are already frustrated by how epically the heroes failed to protect law and order, and now, after being promised that they would be completely safe within the UA, they're being told that Deku, the primary target for the villains, will be staying there with them. Now, from our perspective, this is of course incredibly unfair to Deku. Deku has been out there risking his life and practically working himself to death in order to protect these people from the villains. And yet, instead of being grateful, they want him as far away from them as possible. However, in order to understand why the general public feels this way, we need to back up a second and think about where they're coming from. We have to remember that the general public doesn't really know anything about Deku and One For All. The stuff about One For All in particular has been hidden away even from some of the people closest to Deku, so we can be sure that random people on the street don't know very much about what is actually going on. On top of that, the younger generations of the Japanese population probably don't even know who All For One is. They don't know if this guy is supposed to be a human or a Nomu, or why he's been alive for so long, and so on. We as readers have all of that information about Deku, about One For All, and about All For One. But we have to remember that the general people of Japan do not have this information, so it makes sense that they would be so confused and scared and paranoid. We know that Deku is All Might's successor and the best hope that the heroes have of defeating the villains. But again, the general public doesn't know that. For them, Deku is just this random guy who seems to have multiple quirks, which is sus in and of itself, because having multiple quirks is kind of like All For One's thing, and so the people don't trust this Deku guy to protect them. As the protesters continue to freak out about Deku's arrival, we get to see a whole bunch of familiar faces in the crowd, including Deku's mom, Monoma and Eri, Ragdoll and Kota, and more. Some of the heroes and teachers are trying to calm the crowd down and reassure them, but the crowd continues to get more and more restless. Best Jeanist attempts to explain that keeping Deku here and making sure that he is at his strongest is actually the best strategy for defeating the villains. But the crowd is frustrated about the complete collapse of the Hero Society and the chaos that ensued, and so they continue to lash out at the heroes and blame the heroes for everything that went wrong. The anxiety of the crowd soon reaches a boiling point, and it looks like a full-blown riot is about to break out. But that is when Ochaco jumps into action, quite literally. As Ochaco's parents look on from the crowd, she uses her quirk to jump on top of the UA building, and she then uses a megaphone to speak directly to the large crowd. Ochaco reveals that Deku left the UA precisely because he didn't want to put anyone in danger. It was the students, herself included, who decided to bring Deku back, and as we know, Deku was so stubborn about not going back to UA that they basically had to make him come by force. Ochaco explains that Deku has a very special power, a power that is uniquely suited for defeating All For One. That is the reason why All For One is targeting Deku, but it's also the best hope that the people of Japan have in terms of actually defeating All For One and the villains. Ochaco tells the crowd to take a look at Deku and the terrible state that he is in because he has been working so hard to protect everyone. He kept moving and fighting the villains tirelessly for days on end, even though he was being targeted by the worst of the villains, and he could have been killed at any moment. Several people in the crowd seem to be finally getting the message, and we see the furry girl that we met back in chapter 310 as she recognizes Deku as the boy who saved her. As you will recall, she was being attacked by a bunch of hooligans just because of the way she looked, but Deku came and rescued her. Ochaco proclaims that even though Deku has a special power, he is not a special person. He's just a regular guy. He's a normal person like everyone else, but he still fights hard and gives it his all in the name of protecting others. This is what makes Deku a true hero. He is not superhuman. He deals with all the same problems and challenges as everyone else, and yet he still keeps pushing forward for the sake of others. Ochaco believes that although taking the first step is always hard, taking this step of actually accepting Deku will lead to the birth of a true hero. A hero who will surpass even All Might. Deku has the potential to become the greatest hero the world has ever known, a hero greater than All Might. But the people need to take a leap of faith and believe in him. And that is how this chapter ends, by hitting us right in the feels yet again. And you know what? As I am taking in this conflict between Deku's friends and teachers who are trying to protect him and the general public who don't want him anywhere near them, I can't help but think that All Might is partially responsible for this current state of the hero society. And I know what you're probably thinking, All Might was like the strongest and most effective hero ever. How could any of this madness be his fault? But even though All Might was an absolute legend, and even though he had the best of intentions, he did make one crucial mistake. He tried to do everything on his own. He tried to save everyone and be the perfect hero. And because he was so successful as the symbol of peace, the people of Japan came to rely on him and the heroes in general for pretty much everything. If we want evidence of the fact that people depended way too much on the heroes and expected the heroes to take care of pretty much everything for them, all we need to do is think back to Shigaraki's backstory. One of the main reasons why Shigaraki rejected the hero society and became a villain was the fact that back when he desperately needed help as a child, no one would help him because they just expected some hero to do it for them. Eventually, it was All For One, a villain, who finally ended up helping Shigaraki, and that is as ironic as it is tragic. We know that Deku has always loved and looked up to All Might, but he needs to avoid making the same mistake as All Might did. As I said, All Might had the best of intentions, but he inadvertently set up an extremely unrealistic standard for heroes. And once All Might could no longer maintain that standard himself, everything fell apart. Deku definitely has the potential to surpass All Might, and since he is the protagonist, we know he almost certainly will surpass him. But as much as Deku loves All Might, and as much as he tries to model his career on All Might's hero career, Deku needs to learn from All Might's biggest mistake. It is not realistic for a hero to always be smiling. It is not realistic for a hero to always save everyone on his own. And it is not realistic for one hero to become the symbol of peace, the living representation of everything that is good and pure for an entire society. Deku is not some saint or savior or messiah. Like Ochaco said, Deku has an incredible quirk, but at the end of the day, he's just a normal guy like everyone else, and the same goes for All Might. Deku still faces challenges like the rest of us. He still feels fear, anxiety, self-doubt, sadness, and many other normal human emotions. Trying to be the symbol of peace for an entire society is too much pressure for one man. And trying to do everything on your own so that no one else is ever put in danger is just physically impossible. All Might tried to do exactly that on many occasions. He tried to shoulder the entire burden on himself in order to protect everyone else. And although he was incredibly successful for a while, he eventually received a serious injury which ultimately led to his retirement. Deku has learned a lot of great lessons from his mentor and true father, All Might, but he needs to part ways with All Might when it comes to depending on others. For example, Deku's classmates have demonstrated the readiness, willingness, and ability to support Deku and help him out in difficult situations. They even saved Deku from certain doom after he pushed himself too far in his attempt to be like All Might and save everyone on his own. It is now time for Deku to learn to trust others and to work together with other people. Not only is that the right thing to do for himself and for his own mental health, but it is also the right thing to do for the hero society as a whole. The people of Japan should not expect one man to take the burden of the entire country upon his shoulders. They should not expect some larger-than-life figure like All Might to save everyone and solve every problem. Everyone needs to take responsibility for making society better, and everyone needs to work together towards that common goal. Heroes are great, and they're an extremely useful aspect of that society. But heroes can't do everything and save everyone on their own. Everyone has to do their part, whether they're heroes or just regular citizens. I think that this is the big lesson that the previous arc has tried to teach us, and I really hope that Deku will take that lesson to heart. But let me know what you guys think. Did All Might inadvertently sabotage Deku and the hero society as a whole by setting an unrealistic and unattainable standard for what a true hero should be? Is Deku going to learn from All Might's mistakes and begin relying on others once in a while? Also, now that we've gotten such a detailed breakdown of the UA security system, is that foreshadowing that the UA is going to turn into a major battlefield at some point in the future? Finally, what is going on with Nezu? Is he some eccentric tech billionaire? And if he is, why is he working as the principal at UA? I mean, why isn't he creating his own space rockets like every other self-respecting billionaire? Don't forget to share your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more Boku no Hero content right here on the channel, don't forget to leave a like. It only takes a second, but it helps a lot. And if you're new here, or maybe you watch our videos but you just haven't taken the time to subscribe yet, do me a favor and make this the video that you subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. You really have to go through the trouble of subscribing, hitting the bell, and then selecting that option that says all. If you don't do that, you're still gonna miss a ton of our videos even if you are subscribed. It's just how YouTube works. You can also hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at AnimeUproar. I want to give a quick thank you to all of our AnimeUproar patrons who make videos like this one possible. Special thank you to Alpha Sigma. He is an absolute mad lad and disciple of Lord Twigo himself. And I can't forget all of our The One tier patrons, the ones who rise above all other clans, including Ingrata, Pate Hefa, Aljatal, Hinokami and Water, The Toasted Chi, The Spike, Dylan Isador, Spidey Life Tanel, Tungsten Tarkus, Baked Buddhist, and Monkey D. Quilly. Finally, thank you to all of our Pro Hero tier patrons, including the one and only Gilgamesh, the Red-Haired Raven, Angel Cruz, Rathuin Deora, Very Gucci, Alicia Akhtar, Bonnie Parks, Joanne Garcia, Ted No Ted, Fatboy Games, Corey McGowan, and Soul Ray Slice and Dice. If you enjoy our videos and you feel that they provide value to you, consider supporting us on Patreon. Even a single dollar will give you access to our patron exclusive Discord, and your name will appear in our videos, along with these legendary people. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys!